Avengers Infinity War is the big, epic movie that the last 18 movies and 10 years of the MCU has been building to. This movie needs no introduction. It's the second most expensive movie of all time.
Yeah.
You've seen the advertisements for it. You know, I'm not going to try to summarize the plot because you need to see 18 movies to get to know where we're at right now.
Yeah.
So, Nate, we're going to keep this spoiler-free. We don't,
Spoiler-free.
we want to give you guys a chance to see it. So,
Yeah.
we're going to keep this review spoiler-free. We'll be releasing a spoiler review later.
Yeah.
But, Nate, once again, can't emphasize the spoiler-free enough. Let's just go into it, like, with the characters. I mean, I remember when we went to Civil War, we were like, there's a lot of mouths to feed as far as character time and, character interactions, but it's even bigger, even more characters this time. How do you think the Russo brothers handled it coming back from the last two Captain America movies?
So I think with Captain America Civil War, this was a chance for, these filmmakers to handle a lot of characters on screen. And now I would say it's almost doubled. Like, there's just a lot of things to handle here. And I think they went about it in a really good route here where each person gets his or her own screen time, and I think they actually handled this pacing very well with all the characters. I can't believe that they pulled it off. With the first Avengers, I was like, how are they going to do this? There's so many characters to deal with, and in this one, I'm like, triple it. And how are they going to do this? And I thought they handled it quite gracefully. What do you think?
I think that they handled the amount of characters well enough. There were some moments where I'll admit it felt like there was just a little too much. It felt like it was a little too cramped,
a little bogged down.
And I know that some characters are going to get shortchanged, just naturally. I mean, they said they have like 50 main characters just amongst the good guys, and you can only say so much in 2.5 hours.
Yes,
even in a 2.5 hour movie. So I think for the most part they handled it well. I did like to see Spider-Man and Iron Man interacting again, and I thought that with some of these characters, like, you got Spider-Man, Iron Man, and Peter Quill, it's just going to be like a smart-ass overload, but it wasn't. Surprisingly, it wasn't.
No.
And I found that the dialogue, while it was funny, it might have been too funny at parts.
Yeah.
I feel like that was one of my problems with the editing, where they didn't give the room for laughs. Like, there was a joke. They put a joke in a scene, but, like, everybody in the audience is laughing. You can't hear the next bit of dialogue. I think they just could have paced that out a little bit more, where it's like, give us some time to laugh and enjoy the joke that you clearly wrote for us to laugh. But there are some moments where I'm like, all right, what did they just say, though?
There's a lot of quirky characters on screen. They're all talking to each other at the same time. And there was a point where I'm like, okay, like, we get it. You're all funny. Now, can we get to what's going to happen next, sort of? But it doesn't take, it doesn't last too long. There was just a moment here or two. But other than that, I think that each person shared the screen time as much as they needed to. Yes, I agree, there was one or two that got shortchanged. And for me personally, there was one or two that got too much screen time that I personally don't find to be my favorite characters. But they are very crucial to the plot, so you have to put them in there a lot.
Yeah.
So, for me, I wanted more time with some characters than others. Sitting down for this movie in this full theater and it all leading up to this, I did feel this to be epic. This felt like a very epic movie to me.
An event movie.
An event movie. This was very, very big. If you think about like globe-trotting movies, this is universe-trotting movie. They go everywhere. And sometimes that comedy, I'm just like, you're losing the epicness, man. Come on, let's get back to being epic. So having said that, let's talk about Thanos. Without obviously getting into too much here.
I liked what Josh Brolin was able to do. I mean, obviously it was mocap and a CGI rendering of a character.
Yeah.
So as far as Josh Brolin's performance, like how he portrayed the character, I loved it. I loved what he did with it.
Yeah.
And I felt like he was menacing. And this was the first time where I felt like this guy is a real threat.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's like, it's not a scenario with other comic book movies where it's like that guy poses a threat. But I got an idea, and I think I know how our hero is going to overcome that. With him, it's just like, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
Look at this guy. Look at the things that he's doing. What are they going to do to stop him?
I agree. I loved the look of Thanos. I felt like the special effects, especially just the coloring in this movie in general. This is a beautiful movie.
Absolutely.
It is a very good-looking movie. It's top-notch special effects, and I love what Josh Brolin did with this, and I love what they did with the character, because this is just as much Thanos' journey as it is the Avengers' journey.
I would say it's almost more Thanos' journey, because if there is one character that you stick with through most of this movie and that carries this movie, it actually is Thanos.
Yeah, you're going along the ride with him.
For me, the wide shots of Thanos, that's when it looked a little splotty, just a little like he kind of looked like lumbering. It looked
very hulky.
Just like just for the wide shots where like they're showing his whole body. I felt like and it wouldn't have been as bad when you go to a close up and just everything's like so crisp. Like and I feel like it's almost like video gamey when he's walking. That was
Okay.
It was just a minor distraction. Didn't take me out of the movie, but it
Yeah.
was something where it's just like one shot of him. It's like, oh my god, look what they did, and then next shot, oh my god, look what they did.
Yeah. I can see that, but for me, I almost, it's so weird. Thanos is a very menacing villain, but I kind of sympathize with him. I kind of wanted to sit down and have a conversation with this guy. Like, they really put you in his shoes
Yeah.
enough that the stakes that were going on, you kind of like could see a little bit from both sides. I hate to compare it to Justice League, but you look at Steppenwolf from Justice League, and not only the CGI of it, like how it's just kind of blah,
Yeah.
it's really the motivations just weren't there enough for me. And with this, I think they handled Thanos. He is the best part of this film for me.
Yeah, the key to making a good villain is that you can sympathize with their aim to a point, but in your opinion, their means don't justify the end of it all. So
Yeah.
like even though there are some things that he's talking about philosophically that I would agree with, like you said, I'd love to have a conversation with him about it. But how he goes about it and his end game with it, that's where you disagree. And I think that's the crafting of a great villain, coupled with a great performance. I was surprised at how much this movie leaned on Thanos,
Yeah.
and succeeded in doing that.
Are there any other flaws? Like, do you feel anything else about this movie that just sort of was like, that's a little bit of a letdown?
Well, the third act did kind of drag towards the end, and I felt a little let down that even though you get to see all these characters interacting with each other, some of them haven't interacted with each other before. There are some reunions, and then like those were good, heartfelt moments, but at no point in the movie did I really feel like it was an Avengers movie, like where the team got back together kind of thing, So I was just a little bit let down with that.
Yeah.
It's just that I felt like it was
'Cause they're split up.
satellites of the Avengers, just 2 or 3 here, 2 or 3 there, kind of.
Yeah.
And so it did jump around the plot, but it was able to keep it a nice flow. The story flowed through, even jumping around as much as it did. I felt like the story had a nice flow to it, but at no point did I feel like the team's back together and here we go. Maybe they're saving that for the next movie.
Yeah.
Because, we're getting the second part of this movie in just 1 year.
Yeah.
But I just felt like at no point did it feel like, oh, it was really an Avengers, like everybody's back together kind of thing.
Yeah, there's moments here or there where you're right, there's little reunions in between individuals, but not like this big, like, we're back together, let's
No.
do this. Sort of like in the first Avengers where they're all
The Avengers
fighting
did
off.
not assemble, I'll say that.
Yeah, they didn't assemble. For me, I really enjoyed, like I said, this is a very like universe trotting type of movie. I just wish they kind of would have stayed a little bit more in New York or a little bit more on Earth. They're in a lot of different space planets and different locations. There's a part of it where a certain character's in a place for a while that sort of slowed it down a little bit for me. It's a darker world. It's a little bit more bleak, and I just felt like it wasn't as visually appealing. And the end result of it's great, but it was just a little bit not boring, but just it lulled a little bit for me.
Buffs.
All right, so we gave our very general and very contained thoughts on this movie right now for the spoiler-free. So let's put a score to it. What did you have a good time?
I did have a good time with this one. I don't feel like it was the culmination. I kind of feel like this was a setup to the next movie. There were glimpses of stakes. There were glimpses of things that I liked, and so hopefully those will pan out in the next movie. But I do have some small issues, but overall I enjoyed Avengers Infinity War, and I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10.
Okay. I enjoyed my time with Avengers a lot. I felt like this was very epic. There were a lot of smile-inducing stand-up and cheer moments of character reveals and character moments. This was a good time at the movie theater, and I think it was one of the stronger in the MCUs. I'm going to go higher. I'm going to go 8.5 out of 10. I really enjoyed this movie, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to do the next chapter of this.
Oh, me too, definitely. I'm definitely looking forward. It's just that I felt like this one was a little too much of a setup. Buffs. All right, so that's it for our review of Avengers Infinity War. What'd you guys think? Was it too epic, not epic enough? Go ahead and leave a comment down below.
Yeah, and after you see the movie, come back and check out our spoiler review. We're going to be talking all the nitty-gritty details about this movie and what we liked, what we didn't. So check that out in just a little bit. But don't forget,
Watch more movies.